Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and today we are going to be breaking down the 2020 NFL Draft running backs in my prime rankings. If you're not familiar with prime, it essentially means characteristics based on the Bengals drafting history that would make these guys ideal targets for them. So starting this off, the first thing that you notice is that none of these guys are expected to go within the first round. Clearly. Now, I think that there's a chance for second round as well, but it seems as if the projected rankings from Pro Football Focus in terms of the rounds seem to have none of these running backs coming off of the board until round 3. So you're probably here wondering, okay, Joe Mixon's got a contract situation. Which one of these guys would be ideal for the Bengals? And when you look at this and you sort by strictly prime grade as well as the round ascending, you have DeAndre Swift, which is no surprise because he's the ideal guy. I'm a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan, but it seems as if DeAndre Swift is what they'd be looking for in terms of height and weight. He doesn't really check the boxes in terms of that area or BMI, but he's close enough, right? He's also got a pretty good 40-yard dash. He's got great hand size for what the Bengals look for, great arm length. He's not the age that they typically go for, but they have picked some guys in that age range before. For scheme, he's perfect, and for production, he's perfect. And for me, I think that this makes a lot of sense for what the Bengals are looking for in terms of a running back. It would make perfect sense to pick a guy like that. But my second favorite, Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. I really love this guy. He's somewhat on the small side, so he would be more so kind of that Geo kind of guy. But they have taken running backs out of that conference in terms of the SEC. They have taken several players, as you guys know, if you're a Bengals fan watching this, out of LSU. He really strikes me there. The thing that is a weakness for him is the BMI, right? The BMI is weighing heavy on him here. And his NFL draft grade isn't the greatest. It's okay, but he's not that's what really separates him from DeAndre Swift in terms of appealing to the Bengals. So that's an interesting one there. And then you start to move on and you've got Jonathan Taylor. So it's no shock that most of these guys that are in this order are likely going to be drafted in this order, possibly. You also have Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, a school that the Bengals drafted Kevin Zeitler out of. So they're very familiar with the Big Ten as well. They have had Big Ten running backs in the past. When you look at their history, unfortunately, they drafted Chris Perry. So they do have that in their history. But Taylor as well, he's not what they look for in a BMI standpoint. And when you look at his 40 time, that's also something that is close to what they've had, but not as close. So I think that Jonathan Taylor is still an ideal guy, but if given this situation, which is probably unlikely, they would be picking between those three in that pecking order. And the guy that comes in last is Zack Moss. Zack Moss, they've never drafted a running back out of that conference. So that really weighed heavily on him. Same thing with the BMI, same issue there. You also talk about what he does in age, though. In age, he's essentially what they look for. He's really what they enjoy looking for in terms of his age. So Zack Moss out of Utah, maybe if he slips and slides maybe to that fourth round, maybe he's a guy that they look at and consider. And then you got J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. He actually has a higher grade than Zack Moss, as you can see, 4.38 over that 4.0. He's expected to be drafted in the fourth round, but J.K. Dobbins shines in certain areas. He actually shines in the BMI aspect. And then he also is somewhat close to the age that they look for. So that's another thing there that's going for him. And then it seems as if he's close enough to the height and weight that they look for. But when you look at the conference and the school, they clearly have no problem picking Buckeyes. They clearly have no problem picking Big Ten running backs. So he has those characteristics that we look for. Then we move on to Cam Akers, a Florida State running back. I personally think that this guy was pretty solid. And the Bengals have also picked running backs from the ACC. Look at Giovanni Bernard. They've obviously drafted people out of Florida State when you look at Auden Tate. So this is another guy, being that they just actually signed a running back from Florida State that would make things interesting. I'm not sure if they would actually go after these guys given the Mixon situation, but Cam Akers would appeal to them. He's got a great 40-yard time based on the history that they've had. Perfect BMI, perfect height, perfect hand size. This is a guy that really appeals to them. The only thing that doesn't appeal for them is the age. They haven't gone with that age, and the scheme that he came from does not fit with what the Bengals have traditionally gone with from the running back position. So Cam Akers, I would love to have him, but essentially is a guy that doesn't fit the scheme. So that could be major. So we'll have to see what happens there. Now, it could be that he's scheme fluid based off of the film. If you look at it, I mean, he has, in his defense, he has played in several different offenses with the transition at Florida State, going from Jimbo Fisher to another coach. And now another coach is going to be in there. So there is a possibility that he could be somewhat scheme fluid, because Jimbo Fisher did use to run a pro style offense when he was there. So I wouldn't hold that too much against him, but based on the latest history, he wouldn't be a scheme fit. So that wraps things up for Prime. Please be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think. I would love to see how these end up going through. So what I would do is probably do some reactions after the draft and see how these metrics stacked up. But as usual, leave me something in the comments, and I'll leave you guys with a who day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.